One of the most important courses I taught this course about 20, maybe even 21, 22 years ago, was the Vedic Relationship Compatibility course. Okay? In that course, what I love about it, what I consider a really important part of astrology, is the first part where I talk about the female chastity and the male capacity. Essentially what I'm doing in that part is I'm examining the woman's female side and examining the man's male side to see if those have a level of health that can allow them to relate to each other or not. Okay? And this relationship, this health of the female side and the male side is not only going to impact the relationship with, the opposite gender, it's going to impact their relationship with everything that in their lives. Okay? So if the female parts are not healthy, she's going to have problems in all realms of her life. And if the male parts are not healthy, he's going to have problems with all his entire life. Okay? And I talk about how in men, the male planets, the male-dominated planets, are more important, which is basically the sun in the 10th is the more important part in a male, and the moon in the 4th is the more important part in a female. Okay? And that, yes, we have the other parts. Women have a sun and they have a 10th, and men have a moon and they have the 4th, and those are important. But on our day-to-day lives, especially until our Rahu Ketu maturations, we're largely running off the males off the male force and the females off the female force. And that's the period they're trying to build their foundation relationships, and so those halves of their psyche become really critical to examine. And I teach how to examine them in that course. I talk about the differences between, the male and female half of the psyche. All that stuff is very, very important to know. I suggest everyone take the first part of that course. This is an audio-only course. I did this way before I was making videos. So you can purchase it for download at Vedic-astrology.net, or you can get it on video if you go to the audio courses on this website. Okay? So it's very important to understand the male-female dynamics. Okay, now, relevant to the PAC, what's important is, one of the things I talk about in that compatibility class is that the female side does good when it feels good. And that the female side gets healed by learning to feel good. It needs therapies, procedures, work that it can do to make it feel good. I mean, it needs self-help work. It needs to feel good first. Once it feels good, it starts doing good. And how the male side, to feel good, it has to do good. So if the male side is feeling terrible, all it has to do is it has to do something good, something useful, something that works. And now it's going to heal its psyche and it's going to feel good. All right? So the female side, which is the moon in the 4th, is going to feel better, aka heal, and it's going to do better because of that healing when it learns to feel better. The healing has to be directed towards, how am I going to feel better? What therapy is it going to take? What trauma release needs to happen? What trauma needs to be healed so I can feel good, and then I'll do good. The idea is that female energy does how it feels. If it's feeling like shit, it does bad. And the man has a female side too. So if his female side is feeling terrible, eventually he's going to do some regrettable things. Okay? For a very long time, his male side will try to stay on top of that, but eventually his male side won't. And his female side is going to do something he's not proud about. Okay? But he can go a very long time like that, because again, the male side is dominated in the male. But in the female side's dominating. So if she's not feeling good, she's going to go through life causing problems, making mistakes, creating chaos around her. Okay? She's not going to do things that work because she's going to live out her bad feelings in her real life. Okay? Now, The male side, if it's not doing good, it's not going to feel good, no matter what you do. No matter what you say, what you give to the male side, it's not going to feel good if it's not doing good. It needs to do good. As soon as it does good, it starts doing better. Okay? I talk about that extensively in the first part of that course. Everyone needs to go through that and grasp it and understand it. I also extensively talk about the difference between the moon, the female side, and the sun, the male side. Okay, so remember, the female side does good when it feels good. Its therapy requires that it feel good. It needs to work on the level of clearing everything that's keeping it from feeling good about itself. The male side needs to do good for its therapy. Okay, really simple. Now, in the world we live in, it's all about doing. There's so many opportunities for doing this and doing that, doing this good thing, doing that good thing. So there's lots of opportunity for the male side to heal. It just has to go do something. Like for me, when I started doing martial arts, and I did martial arts well as a 13-year-old, it dramatically changed my life and my happiness. And then 2 years later, I got on a bike and I started racing bikes, and I did well on a bike. I did something good. It dramatically helped me. Did it help my female side? No. It helped my male side, but my male side was what I needed most of the time to move forward in life, so I moved forward in life. Okay? Did it help my female side? No, because that's not going to help the female side. The meditation, that would help the female side. Any other things that I might have done therapeutic-wise would have helped the female side, etc., etc. But all that, the most of what I did was I was working on healing my male side, because that's the side I needed in that first part of my life. Okay, that's how it is for men before Rahu Ketu maturation. For women, there's plenty of opportunities to do this great thing and that great thing, but you'll find so often a lot of the younger women who are doing the most coolest, greatest things are actually the most unhappy, because they're not focusing on feeling good first. They're trying to do something to be worthy, do some great thing to be worthy of love. No. Worthy of love is a sense of being, a sense of feeling. It's an innate right that we all have that we have to get in touch with. We don't find that on the female side level by doing great masculine things. Okay? Now, when the Rahu Ketu maturation comes, the male testosterone drops and the women hormones drop, and all of a sudden, the opposite gender side starts becoming a more dominant theme in their lives. And now we have to deal with it. Okay? That's what makes the Rahu Ketu maturation period so critical, so intense, is when we come into a greater balance. So, a person who's male, who's been doing great his whole life with his male side, now all of a sudden is confronted with, oh, wait a minute, what about my female side here? I have to start taking care of my female side. And they might be way behind on that. But they don't have the testosterone to keep feeling good by doing good, so now they have to deal with all their trauma, all their pain, all their female side stuff. Okay? And so their lives can dramatically change, their focus can dramatically change, they can start behaving in ways they never behaved, because all of a sudden this female side has so much force that it never had before. Comparatively to the force of their male side. And during that period of Rahu Ketu maturations, when the female side, the estrogen starts dropping, now the male side is more loud. Now there's a greater need to do things. Doing things that are cool can make them feel better about themselves, because they're working more with this male side now. And usually, one of the main things women have to do in this day and age, once their male side starts getting stronger, is use that male side to take better care of the female side, okay? Of their own female side. And so they start learning to do that, and men have to listen to their female side in guiding their actions more than they did before. So it's a whole period of coming into a better balance so that we can live more as our full self as we approach the age of the sun at 50. Okay, so the male side's the sun, the female side's the moon. So right away we can equate that, wow, the parent side is more male side. Right? The parent side has got male sun and neuter Saturn. it's more of a male-dominated side. Okay? So the male side, the sun, is the primary important parent side. He's the more important parent planet. Saturn is the sun's child. So when the sun says, do this, the child is born that says, as a result, don't do this. Remember I said, the don't do's come as a result of knowing what to do. They're a natural development that comes from knowing what to do. So the parent side is actually a male-dominated side. Okay? Now, the child mind is particularly the moon. You know, the whole absorptive child mind is the moon. And then the planet that the child mind uses to survive is Mars. Okay? Like mother helps, which is Mars, helps the moon survive. The baby exerting every force it has within itself, and us as we grow up using the force we have in ourselves to get the things we really need so that we survive, so our child mind lives, is the planet the child mind uses. But it is a male planet. It's the child mind exerting itself the way it can to get what it really needs. But all the force is really in that child mind, meaning all the need is in the child mind. And the force comes from that need. So the child mind is female dominated. Okay? It's the female mind, actually. So when we say child mind, we're also saying female mind. And we're saying parent mind, we're also saying male mind. Okay? So keep that in mind. You might have noticed there was a time in Hollywood, I think it was the 40s and 50s and stuff, maybe even into the 60s, started shifting in the 70s, where so many of the successful movies had an older guy with a much younger woman. Okay, it was just a stereotypical thing. The old guy knew the ropes, he's been around, he knew the right thing to do, he knew how things were going to go down, he knew how things were going to work. He was the parent. And the girl was young, she was naive, she was cute, and she needed guidance. And she was the child. So we see a lot of movies that when you look at them now, they're like kind of, ooh, yuck, you know? But you see this theme in these movies with father figure and child figure having a relationship together. They even called the girl doll. She'd be called a doll. She'd be called a kid. You know, she's being called these child mind things. So we really see that representation really strongly at this time. Then it started shifting in the 70s when we started having more focus on women liberation, which basically means, hey, guess what? Women have a male side too, and they can use that side. Okay? And the world's a better place when they do use that side. But, of course, they don't want to forget that they have a female side in the process, okay? So, so you can see that stereotypical type. And the truth is that the female side is more like that. But see, a female person is not just that side. And the truth is the male side is more like that. But it's not that the male side is only like that. Those are just parts. The truth is, we all have a male and female psyche. We all have a parent, adult, and child mind. Okay? Now, when it comes to therapy and we look at these charts, we're going to see that people are going to have a troubled child mind, a troubled parent mind, a conflictual adult mind, or a weak adult mind, meaning lots of starved adult planets, and the adults are not running the show right. What I mean by weak adults, again, starved adult planets means the adults have the wrong idea about what's going to make life work. As a result, nothing in life is going to work. Okay? Remember, the adult planets are the benefics. They're the ones that make good things happen in our lives. If they're in bad avashtas, we are doing the wrong thing to make good things work. And then we have our parent mind over here saying this is what you should or shouldn't do. Are those things the right things for us or not? Well, it depends on your avashtas. Then we have our child mind going around with this belief system of, this is what will get my needs met. Well, is it true or not? You know? Is that actually going to work or not? The belief that child mind is carrying. So, when we look at all that, we need to heal all this mess somehow, right? All this conflict. So, one of the things we can do is, if we see the child mind is damaged, we know, it doesn't matter what the avashta is. So in the course, in the Vedic Astrology Compatibility course, I talk about benefics and malefics, hurting or helping the male side sun in the 10th, or the female side moon in the 4th, okay? All that stuff works really good, but it works better if you also put the avashtas on top of all that. Okay, avashtas are the most important thing. So use the avashtas to judge the female side more carefully. Look at the avashtas to see how the female side is trying to get its needs met. Is the female side, the child mind moon, trying to get its needs met through Saturn, Mercury, and Venus, and failing over and over again, and therefore getting traumatized over and over again? Or is the female side looking at Sun, Jupiter, and Mars to get their needs met and find fulfillment? In which case, it's achieving that. Okay? And it won't need as much healing, because in doing so, it's in a process of healing. All right? So, if we see that the female side needs help, or if we see the moon is starved or shamed, or even Mars, then realize that this person has trauma that needs to be healed. This planet needs to be made to feel good first. Mars too. If Mars is feeling angry, it's not going to do good, right? You know, angry people, they're not going to do as good. They're going to do something that's bad, that messes up their lives, that hurts other people, because they're angry, you know? They're resentful. That can create a lot of negative behavior, because remember, the female side, when it feels bad, it does bad. So if you see those planets in trouble, you know right away that you have to heal the female side, and that the way to do that is to make the female side feel good. That means therapy to remove trauma, any of those therapies I mentioned. In the last video where I talked about, therapy for the different types, yes, we need to make that female side, aka child side, feel better. And feeling better, it'll start doing better. Okay, got to work through that trauma, heal that trauma, replace those negative feelings of self with positive feelings of self. Once there's positive feelings of self, the self will do good. Okay? So the therapy basically has to be the type of therapy of what I talk about the female side needs to heal in that course. So you want to apply everything I say about the female side in that course to the child mind. Okay? Now, with respect to the parent mind, we've got the Sun is the primary parent planet. The secondary is Saturn. He's the facilitator. He essentially supports the Sun in finding, living out what's the right life for him by doing the opposite of the Sun. By saying, okay, this means don't do this because my Sun is busy doing this. Okay? So it's about the doing. When we do the right things for ourselves that work, we feel good. The therapy for the parent side, for the Sun side, is to do things that work and make someone feel good. Because remember, why do we have a parent side? We have a parent side so that the child side can be taken care of. That's the only purpose of parents. So the parent mind is there to guide us to do the right things and not do the wrong things so that our child mind feels good. When I say feel good, I'm not saying the Sun's going to feel good. The Sun's not capable of feeling. It's only capable of shining, of doing. When it does something that it succeeds in, that it does well, it only can do that because that's what it is. It's the right thing for it to do. Now, that will make the child mind feel good because the parent mind did the right thing. So when the parent mind does the right thing, we feel good, which means the child mind feels good. So everything the Sun is doing, it's simply doing it to take care of the child mind. That's why. So all these do's and don'ts you have in your head from your programming and your experiences, those do's and don'ts are there to protect your child mind and ensure that your child mind's going to be okay. Just like as a kid, everything your parent told you to do or don't was just so that you would be okay. That doesn't mean the words they used were words of wisdom or right for you, but that was the purpose of them. So the purpose of your developed parent mind, wherever state of development it's in, the purpose of all those thoughts is to ensure that you will be okay. And it's the child mind that wants to be and needs to be okay. All right. So, lots of the things the parent mind is saying to do make us feel bad because we go do them and we feel horrible because they don't work right. Right? And other things that maybe if we did, we would succeed and feel good about, we are doing because the parent mind is saying don't do it. So it's important for us to take our adult mind and say, all right, let's remember the function, parents. What are you here for? And the parents say, we're here because we know the right and wrong things to do. And then you use your parent mind, your adult mind, you say, no, you're not here because you know the right and wrong things to do. You're here to make the child mind feel good, to take care of the child mind and protect it and make it feel okay. That's why you're here. Okay? And they're like, oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, they can grasp that. They'll remember, oh yeah, that's my job. Okay? And then you say, can you see that that's different than knowing the right and wrong things to do? That those are two different things? Doing and not doing what helps the child mind be okay is not the same as knowing the right things to do or don't. Okay? Okay, the parent minds can grasp that. Now we're re-educating the parent mind. So, parent mind, let's try this. Let's try doing something that we should do. That you think we should do. Let's think about the things you've said we should do. You should live your life like this. You should treat people like this. You should do your relationships like this. You should give this much credit to wealth, success, fame. Let's think about those should-dos we've done. And let's write them all down. And let's see which ones of those made us feel good, made us feel okay about ourselves. Okay? And the ones that made us feel good are the ones that fulfilled your responsibility as parents. So let's continue enforcing those rules. Okay, those shoulds and shouldn'ts. I said, but how about the ones that made us feel miserable every time we did them? How about we remove those from the do's and don'ts list? Okay? Let's not follow those anymore because they've proven that they're not here that those things aren't helping us succeed in our mission of making the child mind feel okay. Because we have to start doing the right thing that makes us feel good if we're going to heal. And the parent mind, once it starts grasping that, oh, you're right, these are the things that made us feel good, therefore these are actually the right things to do, not what I was thinking. Now we're healing the parent mind. Okay? And then we need to go and say, because remember, healing the parent mind is re-educating the parent mind by removing the wrong ideas and replacing it with correct ideas. Ideas that work. Okay? And then we have to say, okay, and all these things that we're never going to do, that we've said we're never going to do, let's just try one of those and see how we feel. If when we do it, we feel bad, we'll just stop. No harm done. But maybe, just maybe, that'll make us feel better than anything else because it's really what we've always needed. Let's just try. Now, the parent minds are going to have a much harder time with this because the parent mind can look at the past and see how the things we have done have, have been horrible, the things that we were supposed to do that the parent mind said didn't make us happy. They can see that. But they don't have as many experiences of saying, of us of doing something contrary to the parent voice and seeing a positive result. So we have to remind the parents of this. Remember that time little me snuck out the window and did that thing that you did not want us to do? But somehow I did it anyway, and it was the best thing I did for myself. Remember those times? We've all had those times where we've snuck out from under our parent mind noses to do something that we know our parent mind didn't want, but for some reason the child mind did it anyway. Maybe our adult mind said, I'm going to try this anyway. We've all had times where we've snuck something by the parent mind, okay? Or somehow justified it. And we need to say, hey, remember that time I did this thing that you would never condone, yet it was the right thing to do? So maybe that is really what I should be doing more. How about we go try that some more? So through doing different things and seeing if we feel good or bad from doing it, we are finding out, we are testing the ideas of the parent mind. We are re-educating the parent mind. Because remember, the parent mind's job is to do, because it's the male side, to do the things that in doing we feel good as a result. Because as a result of doing good things, which means the right things for us, we feel good. The result of doing the wrong things for us is we feel bad. Okay? These sides are supposed to work together. They're not like parents have this life and child have this life, although it seems that way. And a lot of people live that way, and that's why we have something called internal conflict, where we have these different minds are having completely different ideas about things. Child mind needs this, parent mind says no to that. We have internal conflict. We have an inner family rift with conflict and tension and no peace, okay? So, it's important. A lot of times that inner conflict will revolve around the parent and child mind. Child mind needs something, parent mind say no. Okay? We have to question that conflict. We can't continue to live forever with internal conflict. Some people are very conflicted internally, other people not so much. People who are internally conflicted burn themselves out because they're constantly engaged in this internal conflict with their minds and their energy, and so they burn themselves out. Okay, it's important to remove internal conflict between these two minds. Okay, and we can also say this is a conflict between the male and female minds. The way to remove it is to take the adult mind and question it. To examine the needs of the child, talk to the parent mind, and question our ideas about it. Question our ideas of, is this really such a bad thing to do? And so on. And use your adult mind to analyze your avashtas to see if that, okay, is this need of my child a healthy or unhealthy need? A healthy need is a need that can create fulfillment. An unhealthy need is a need that will only cause more drama and more pain and more trauma. More affirmations that you are unlovable, nobody wants you, you're not okay. That's what unhealthy needs cause. The bad avashtas that the moon is causing are unhealthy needs. They're only going to reinforce the idea that you're unlovable, undesirable, and rejected. Okay? So we can't play that game. It'll only add to our trauma. And out of feeling bad, every one of those bad avashtas that the moon is causing is showing how our female psyche, our child mind, is feeling bad about itself. Okay? If the moon is starving Saturn, we're essentially saying, how I feel about myself is like trash. That's why I'm looking at trash for fulfillment, because I feel like trash. I feel that worthwhile. Okay? And so I get involved in things that are not fulfilling, that are worthless for me to get where I cannot get my needs met, and I suffer. And I prove that I am trash and unworthy as a result. Okay? When Moon is starving Venus, it's basically setting out to affirm that I'm not valuable. I don't have what's, Saturn and Venus are so similar, basically. Saturn's trash, what you throw out. Venus is what, when Moon is starving Venus, Venus is something that, no, not needed, no, not useful, okay? Not welcome because it's not useful, okay? Moon starving Venus, you'll get, if you follow that path, you get experiences of, no, you're not useful, okay? Moon Saturn, you get experiences of, you're trash, you're not worth taking care of, we just use you and throw you away, your toilet paper, okay? So you get, with Moon starving those two planets, you reinforce the experience that essentially you have no value. Both of those result in that same basic feeling. With Saturn, it's more you're just trash. With Venus, is no, you don't bring anything to the table. Okay. With Mercury, when Moon starving Mercury, it's just the affirmation that, oh, life doesn't work for you. If you follow that. No, for you, things don't work. For everyone else, these things work, but for you, it's not going to work. That's what we affirm. So what we affirm when we are following the Moon starvation theme is that we're not okay. Remember, the child mind wants to feel okay, which means it's worthy of love and connection. And when the Moon follows a Moon-starved Saturn, a Moon-starved Venus, or a Moon-starved Mercury, what it affirms is, you're not okay. For those three reasons. Okay? You're not okay. It's not going to work for you, Moon-starving Mercury, because you're not okay. So you might as well suck it up and take this thing that's not working. See, this is what you get. You get what's not working because you're not okay. Okay? Moon, Saturn, see, you're getting something that doesn't give you what you need because you're just trash and you're not worth having your needs met. Okay? Moon, Venus, you're not getting what you need. You're not getting what you need to feel fulfilled, connected, and happy because, you just aren't worthy of it. You're just worthless. Okay? We'll affirm those as our life unfolds because our experiences will make the child mind feel that way. And why are we living that way? Because that's how the child mind feels. It feels those three feelings depending if it's starving Saturn, Mercury, or Moon. It's feeling those. So to heal, we need therapy that makes the Moon, Saturn not feel like trash. The Moon, Mercury not feel like life is not going to work out for them, even though it works out for everyone else. And the Moon, Venus needs to heal the trauma that is making them feel like you just aren't worth spending time with. You're not worth loving and connecting. You're not beautiful enough, you're not whatever enough, good enough, smart enough, rich enough, whatever enough, charming enough, whatever enough. You need to remove the trauma that's creating those thoughts. So with all the bad avastas we've talked about bearing on child mind, we need to approach it from the female side. Let's heal the female side, remove the negative feelings, replace it with affirmative, positive self-feelings through therapy, affirmations, meditative experiences. And now the Moon side, the child mind, will start sucking, attracting and tuning into healthy things. It'll start doing good in the capacity that the Moon does. How does the Moon do? The Moon does one thing. It opens doors. It's receptive. So what are you receptive to? That's the action of the Moon. Are you receptive to what's wrong or right? Okay? And for the parent mind, we need to do things that the parent mind says, do things that the parent mind says doesn't do, and re-educate the parent mind through that with the yardstick of, see, we feel good. And we only will feel good if we do good. Okay? And that's how we can heal these two sides. essentially by doing the types of stuff I talked about in the beginning of the Vedic Relationship Compatibility course. Okay? Parent side needs different handling than child side. And the side of us, the part of us that can manage those therapies is our adult side. Okay? Our adult side is the one that can have the conversation with the parent mind and help it try these new scary things to it. Help it say, okay, I grant my permission to do this thing once as a test to see if we actually feel good from doing it. And if so, maybe I'll consider it, you know. It's the adult mind that can get in there and communicate with the parent mind, who can have that awareness. And also, it's the adult mind that's able to have the awareness to say, look, you're setting yourselves up for disappointment. You're chasing the moon, Venus, moon, Saturn, moon, Mercury thing, and look what happens every time. Let's stop this action. Let's not expect the outside to make up for your pain, your lack of feeling good about yourself, your not okayness. Let's focus on learning to be okay first, and then we'll go outside. But for right now, let's not go outside because we don't feel okay enough to go outside and not have anything but trouble. We need the adult side to help the side do that. And what you'll see when when the child side gets hurt, it wants to withdraw. Why? Because it wants to protect itself from further pain. Okay? So when relationships end, the child mind wants to withdraw. It says, I'm never going to love again. That's it for me. I'm never having relationships again. I'm not going to connect again. I'm not going to try connecting again. It withdraws. The first instinct is, I got to stay safe, and this hurt me so bad. The only way to be safe is to withdraw and not be part of this madness. Okay, there's nothing healthy there. What is healthy is if the adult mind says, okay, let's examine, let's look at how we played this. Let's look how we set ourselves up. Let's do the healing we need to heal. And then when we're healed, so we don't open the doors to what's going to hurt us and behave in ways that's going to sabotage what we need, let's go. Then we'll go outside and it'll all work. Okay? That's what needs to happen. But usually what happens is there's a withdrawal, and then as soon as that short period of withdrawal ends and there's opportunities for more trouble, the child mind is ready to jump back into the same problems, the same pattern, the same mistake essentially, the same starvation themes of is the moon starving Mercury, Saturn, or Venus without any healing having taken place. And then this cycle repeats itself. Okay? So we don't want to get into those cycles of repeating the same, child mind-driven actions over and over again. It's important for the parent mind to say, okay, child mind, I know you have these needs, but we have to heal some parts first, and then we'll go get them met. The adult mind has to be able to manage the child enough to do that. Otherwise, the child is going to start chasing a need in the same unhealthy way as it did before. Okay? And end up with the same disappointment again. So it's very important to get our adult mind involved in the other minds. Now, the benefics are just so important. In the old books it says a good strong Jupiter, Venus, or Mercury in an angle overcomes, thousands of ills if it's Jupiter, hundreds if it's Venus, and dozens if it's, if it's Mercury. So the different planets are considered to overcome more trouble. Well, there's a truth to that. Different planets have more weight in taking care of the child mind or re-educating the parent mind, because that's where the troubles are originating from, really. Now let's say, so for therapy for the child mind I've talked about, for the parent mind I've talked about, just a general idea. Now what about the adult mind? What if the adult mind is all starved, starving lots of planet? It's completely wrong. Okay? Well, there's a beautiful thing about astrology, and that is the planet Mercury. Okay? It doesn't matter how messed up the planet Mercury is. Okay? Mercury still always maintains some capacity. It's impossible to make Mercury useless. Okay? So, you have to, if your adult planets are in bad shape, you have to start with Mercury. You can't jump to Venus, you can't jump to Jupiter and try to use them. You have to start with Mercury. It's kind of like, you know, in all the Puranic myths, the myths from India, there's the heavenly wars where the Devas in the heavens are fighting the Asuras and, you know, the dark forces, and they're fighting, and the Devas are losing, they're losing and losing, which means life is going to hell. And they pray to Vishnu, and Vishnu shows up and always finds a way to save the day. Vishnu is Mercury. Okay, so it's like, when we're in that much trouble, see, when all the benefics are in bad shape, you're in a lot of trouble, okay? It's going to be very hard to move your kingdom forward. It's going to be very hard to re-educate your parent mind that's getting you stuck and limited, and it's going to be very hard to heal and manage your child mind that's messing everything up in a moment-to-moment basis in your life. You need to call on Vishnu. You need to get Mercury out and say, okay, I need to start at the most basic level of observation. See, the beautiful thing about Mercury is our ability to learn. As humans, we always have the ability to learn. We might not be in the habit of learning. See, a bad Mercury is simply a Mercury that's not in the habit of learning. It's not in the habit of observing. But humans are all capable always of that. We're always capable of that as a first step in our development. Remember? Moon, Mars, child mind development. Then the adult mind development starts with Mercury. So if all of our adult planets are in bad shape, where do we start? We have to start by developing the adult planets. How do we develop adult planets? We start with Mercury. Okay? We become a precocious, observant 3-year-old. A precocious, observant 4-year-old. And one day we'll be a precocious, observant 11-year-old. And after that, we'll be ready to work on our Venus. Okay? So, we have to start questioning everything. We need to start observing. We need to get our writing pencils out and start writing. What happened? How did this happen? How many times have I been in this situation? And can I observe how this does not work? Okay? What possible solutions could I have to this that are not dire solutions such as move to the North Pole and not have internet and never communicate with anyone ever again type solutions, but actually workable solutions? We need to start on the level of Mercury. The same way that a child at the age of 3 starts questioning what their parents are doing around them, what's happening around them, how people are acting and behaving around them, and starts deciding, oh, this is what I need to do for me. They look and they go, huh, you know, and they figure it out. Shrishti has a really funny story. When she was 3 years old, she was born in a Hindu family, of course, but like most Hindus, many Hindus in India, they do eat some meat. They'll eat fish, they'll eat lamb, they'll eat chicken, they don't eat beef though. And so when she was 3, she observed one night at dinner that lions eat meat. She's not a lion, and therefore, why should she eat meat? And she quit eating meat at 3. She became the only vegetarian in her family. So, how? By observing. Lions eat meat. I'm not a lion. Therefore, I should not eat meat. That's how we do it. That's such a childish observation. But it's a truthful observation. So we start observing. Okay, our lives. What's working? What are we really? What are we, if I'm really this, why am I doing this? So we're observing our parent minds. I need this, but when I try to get it, this happens. Therefore, the way I'm trying to get it isn't working. Let me think of a new way to get it. We have to start on the level of observing ourselves, observing the results of our life. There are tangibly evident results in our lives. And observe those. And that's how we start developing the adults. We start with Mercury. The same way a 3-year-old would, okay, who wants to start becoming free from the unconscious influences, the programmed influences, and from those programmed parental influences as well. And starts finding out the life that's right for itself. So we have to make a conscious effort, essentially, to develop the adult mind. Now, what's going to help that? The child mind. The child mind is the number one supporter of the development of the adult mind. Because if the adult mind is not developed, the child mind is going to suffer. And so the pain of the child mind is what's telling us, hey, I am not being adult enough. Well, how do I know this? Because I am in pain. So I am not being adult enough. Let me go back to developing my adult mind. Because the adult mind is where problems are solved. They're the benefics. They're the ones that make things work, that bring the good things into our life. So, since I'm in pain, what I need to do is focus on developing my adult mind. And my adult mind will take care of the child mind, and re-educate my parent mind as necessary. But I have to go to, if I want change, I have to focus on getting the adult mind involved. And that's what happens in life. We go through Moon age and Mars age. Now we're 3 years old and we're like, fuck, what a ride. I have separation trauma. I have psychotic trauma as well. I have separation anxiety and separation depression because I had separation every year from 1 to 3 of notable sort. And this doesn't feel good. I want out of this. I want to grow out of this into a happier, better person. How am I going to do that? By developing my adult mind, Mercury. By starting the development of my parent mind. And remember, or adult mind. Remember, once the Mercury mind develops, its goal is to achieve the Venus mind, adult mind. Mercury's observing, learning, so that it can know what choices it has to make, what's going to provide what it needs. That's Mercury's job. And once it learns what's going to provide its need, now we're in the Venus adult mind. The Venus adult mind knows this will fulfill what I need actually. It's not a pipe dream. It's not a wish that will leave me in despair. It's an actual fact that this will work to give me the love, connection, and fulfillment and have my needs on this earth met. So I can choose it. It's a good choice. As we observe, as we learn, as we try, as we develop that adult mind Mercury, every time we do that, every mistake we make, everything we learn along that way, we are a step closer to a functional Venus mind, which is the planet full of worldly wisdom. I know how it works. Look at people with good Venuses. They know how things work in this world. Look at people with damaged Venuses. The ways they think life is going to work, they are living in a fairy tale. You know, they really are. Life just simply does not work that way. Okay? So, Venus is the adult mind that simply knows this is how it works. If we play this game, I get this result. That sucks. If I play this game, I get this result. That works positively. Okay? After we get the foundation of what works, we develop the integrity, the sense of value and worth that makes us able to take the next step into something bigger. And then we developing the Jupiter mind. It means we're ready for more, essentially. But first we have to get it right on the level of Venus. My life's working to where I'm not running around like a crazy person. And now I can focus on the bigger picture. Now when I sit down, I can actually meditate. Whereas before, I couldn't, because the minute I'd sit down, all these anxieties and fears and stresses would show up. But now I know how life works, and I have this foundation that I can embrace the bigger picture more. So we build through these different minds. My life was such a mess, but now it's solid enough that I can have children now. I'm ready for children. That's also the Jupiter adult mind. It's ready when we're ready for a greater connection to something, a greater sense of purpose, because our foundation is stable enough that we can manage that. Okay? Which means we've got enough of our life right that we're living as relatively healthy people with our needs met, so we can function capably, so we can carry the weight of the bigger picture that Jupiter might indicate. Okay? All right, so if it's the problem in the chart is that the adult minds are the weak ones, the afflicted ones. Then to move forward in life, we have to start on the level of Mercury. Start by observing, start by writing it down, start by questioning, or just observing. I did this and this happened. I did it again and the same thing happened. Did I ever do it and something else happened? No. Then why did I start doing it again yesterday? Maybe I should stop doing what I started doing again yesterday. It starts becoming very obvious. Use your Mercury. Okay? Question the kind of person you are, what needs you really have, and question, is this really the person I am? Wow, I'm doing this to get these needs met, but is that even the person I am? You know, look how much focus I am about money, making money, money, money. Do I really need that much money? Do I care about that much money? Or why am I thinking I need so much more money? Oh, because I think money is going to give me connection, but has it? No. All right, maybe I should stop focusing on money. We observe and try. That's Mercury's job. And the answers are all there in that observing Mercury. Okay? So you just start on that level. Okay, so in the last video I showed how we can look at charts and we kind of see the mind that needs the most help. Okay? That's very helpful to do, so you know who you're working with, what kind of help they need. Okay, and this class also is about that. Okay, now we know what dominant mind is going on, what mind's causing the most trouble. We can start seeing what a person needs. And it's very tricky working with people because, you know, we're dealing with everyone such a different mix of parent mind and child mind needs. And so there's no textbook right answers. No, this is how you have to handle this case. The important thing is you have to just grasp and understand things to a deep enough level that as you work with the person, you say the right things, that you're able to see the right thing. Okay? You have to understand how it works. So focus on grasping how things work, how our psyche works, how the avashtas work. And from that understanding, as you work with a person, you will pull together the right advice for that person. Okay? Your capacity to do that is dependent on grasping how all these things work, how the psyche is working. Then becomes a quite logical thing to grasp it. Okay? You know, and it's like when I do readings with people, I so often surprise myself at the things I say. And what I mean by surprise myself is I say things often that I would never have expected to hear myself saying. Okay? I'll say something that I never thought of or rehearsed or said, oh, I would say this to this person in this situation. All the time, I end up saying things that I never thought about saying before. But they all came from my grasp of everything about astrology and the psyche. And it came into a picture of, okay, this is what I have to say to this person. And it's not the same thing. It surprised me all the time. And then I wait, and I see, and it resolves itself as I said it would. Okay? So the point I'm making is, there is no book, How to Be the Great Therapist, in this situation, say this, do this. It's not so cut and dried textbook. You have to grasp and understand the person and then be able to say the right thing. Okay, you have to have the depth of understanding to do that, essentially. So focus on grasping the principles. If you can grasp the principles and really embrace those, you'll amaze yourself at the things you can say that are truthful. I remember one time, a guy who was an Ayurvedic doctor, he just started learning astrology. And he calls me up and he's like, "Yeah, I'm visiting your town, and your friend so-and-so has told me about you. I thought if you had some time, I'd just come over, we can have a little chat. I'm just starting to study Vedic astrology." And I was like, "Sure, I actually have some time." He's literally 3 houses away. So he comes over, and he sits down, and I ask what he's been learning. He goes, "Oh, I just learned, like that, the doshas of the planets and the doshas of the signs." But again, he had years of really understanding the doshas from Ayurveda. He knew his doshas. Then he asked to see my chart, and he gives me this amazing reading. I'm like totally blown away by this guy who just started studying Vedic astrology a week ago, because his grasp of the doshas was so deep that when he looked at a chart and he saw that this planet's in this sign and this planet is this dosha and this is this dosha, he could derive a high level of meaning from that. And that's all he did. He said, "Oh, this because of these doshas and how they're interacting, he's telling me like amazingly truthful, useful stuff about myself." And that's what we have to strive for in astrology. No one told him, "Oh, if this planet's in this sign, it means this according to the doshas." No one told him that. He simply grasped the doshas. Then he learned that this dosha equals this planet. And he went with what he knew, and he knew a lot. Okay? So that's how we are going to work best with people. It's grasping the basics on a deep, deep level so that from that we can draw on what the person needs to hear. Okay?